Welcome, everybody, to Sports Fluent. I'm Anthony.
And this week, our special guest is Malcolm Darnley. Malcolm, how you doing?
Good, thanks, Anthony. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, thank you. So Malcolm just wrote an article, which you can find on sportsfluent.com, and it's called Touch 'em All, Johnny O. Maybe we just rewrote history. And it takes a look at Cito Gaston and the 93 Jays and what they did with their batting order and how it would have been done differently if they used the analytics that we use today. So tell me a little bit about why you decided to write this. What kind of struck you as hey, this is an important time to write this today?
Yeah, first of all, Anthony, as an old timer, any chance to revisit the '93 Jays is just fun for me. That lineup was absolutely stacked. Three Hall of Famers on it, so a chance to dive in and check out their numbers again is always just fun. But what got me thinking about it again this time of year was a text from a buddy of mine named Mike. When Charlie Montoyo and the Jays set out their game one lineup in the playoffs this year. And what we had noticed is that, according to our eyes and being a couple Jays fans, they had Gurriel and Teoscar Hernandez hitting in the 5th and 6th spot. And they had Randall Grichuk and Vladdy Guerrero hitting 3 and 4. My eyes, stats say that your 5 and 6 hitters are better than your 3 and 4. And it just got me thinking, why, if I know that, they know that, so why are they doing that? And then from there, it just got me thinking, hey, let's look back at that 93 team and how Cito had it set, and just see what the analytics say and, who really should have hit where now that we know, all this data and information.
Right. Because typically your best hitters, you want them batting 3-4 so they get more at bats, right?
Yeah, and even, I think the old school philosophy was really your best hitter, your Tony Gwynn, your Wade Boggs, your George Brett. They tended to hit in the 3-hole, and as a kid, your best hitter was always in the 3-hole. And I think analytics are pushing those guys even further up the lineup. You're seeing the Mookie Betts and the Mike Trouts bat in the 1 spot and the 2 spot. George Springer, a typical power guy in Houston, gets the bat leadoff there. So, I think what we used to do is think that, you had a certain hitter, your best hitter was 3, your home run guy was in the 4, you had a speed guy at the top of the lineup. But analytics are just making us think a little bit differently now. And it's not that, speed doesn't belong at the top, but not at the expense of a good hitter, if that makes sense.
Right. So in your opinion, because you dove deep into these analytics, is that a good thing? Or is analytics hurting the old school kind of traditional game of baseball? Or do you think, no, we're doing the right thing. It's hard for some of the traditionalists to let go?
Yeah, a great question. And, if I had the definitive answer on that, then, I'd probably get paid a lot more than I do currently.
Right.
Certainly what analytics is doing, and this is great, it's always great, is challenging us to think maybe a little bit differently. And, when I compare, the analytics from that 93 roster and look back, I'm a Cito guy. I always love Cito. Always loved the style, never want to, say a bad thing about Cito. But what jumps out to me is that you had, John Olerud was one of the greatest statistical seasons in Blue Jay history, hitting in the 5 spot. Man, today, and I know he wasn't fleet of foot, probably still isn't, but, wouldn't you like to have that bat maybe in the 3 or 4 spot? Against right-handed pitchers, you had Paul Molitor, Hall of Famer, hitting in the 6 hole. Now that speaks to the length of the lineup, but at the same time, you had Devon White, who was an amazing center fielder, known for his glove, batting in the 2 spot. And even that question itself, did Cito have a reasoning for that? Was that speed based, or was that a loyalty thing that Devon White had been a center fielder for so many years, and then they trade for Ricky Henderson at the deadline? And it's like, well, I don't want to throw Devo. He's been great for me. I don't want to throw him in the 9 hole. I'm going to move him to the 2 spot. But now,
right, because Ricky has to go first, right? Ricky has to be your leadoff batter. But that was also the year. What didn't John Olerud he was flirting with 400 that year, right? So you would think you'd want to get him some more at bats.
Well, Olerud flirting with 400. He ended up with 363, I believe, was on base, was 473, which is incredible. but you also had Molitor finish 2 and Alomar finish 3 in the batting order. And yet if for the American League, not for the
Right.
team, which is insane to that kind of depth. So, maybe Cito was just ahead of his time and said, no, you know what, I'm doing it, Malcolm, is I'm lengthening the lineup. I got Devo on the 2 spot, and yeah, I know Molitor is a better hitter. But my reasoning is now, my 6 hitter is the best 6 hitter in the world.
Right.
I don't know, and I didn't get to talk to Cito, but certainly the analytics to me, and talking to Kyle from Virginia Tech and Greg Zahn, I think they would suggest that, Olerud would probably move up in the lineup today if it was done a little different.
And so in this, right, you and I talked previously, and you had mentioned that some of the guys you spoke to actually have, like, players have said they're not completely bought in or completely fans of the analytics, because is it the athlete just knows or wants to know, hey, I'm better than what these analytics show, but the analytics say, hey, I need to do this? Like, where do you fall on that argument, where we hear those players saying don't trust the analytics, but obviously the analytics people are saying no, trust the analytics?
I thought Kyle Sarazin from Virginia Tech, he was great to point out to me that analytics is just information to help you make your decisions, and that you can present 2 people with the same information and they can have, make 2 different, completely different decisions based on the same information. And so, what I was talking to Greg about, which I thought was really interesting, was what happens when you get a front office base, that's based on analytics and really into the analytics, but yet you have more of an old school mentality amongst the players. And, the examples that we were really talking about was this year in the playoffs from a pitching standpoint. You saw Charlie Montoya with the Jays. They had Shoemaker penciled to go 3 innings in game 1, and he went 3 innings. He went 3 brilliant innings. And everybody was screaming for him to come out in the 4th, but he didn't, because the plan was for him to go 3, even though he only threw 35 pitches. Then in Houston, Dusty Baker makes the walk out to the mound to pull Greinke, and Greinke talks him into staying. And says, I don't want to go. And Dusty's like, all right, if you don't want to go, I'll let you go, and he broke the plan. Which one's right? Well, I'll tell you after the situation happens and whatever occurs. But when players don't buy in, I think it can be an issue. And Greg alluded to some stories where, he saw managers that come and get the ball and the pitchers just weren't happy. And that happens a lot in baseball. But just like our work, you need the workers on the same page as the senior management to make it happen.
Right. So I'm going to paraphrase and tell me if I'm right. Analytics are good, but you need to be flexible. Fair statement?
Yeah, I think that's what the analytic experts would tell you, is that, again, it's just information to help you make your decision. It'll be interesting, and I'm not saying this is happening, but it'll be interesting if managers start to lose their ability to be flexible, and if decisions are made pre-game, and managers, do they still have the right, when the game plan was, hey, you're supposed to go 3 innings, but man, you were brilliant for 3. I'd love to throw you out for the 4th, but I can't. The plan was to go 3. So, I think it's interesting to watch it play out. But, certainly when it comes to a guy like Dusty Baker, I don't think he takes a job if he doesn't get to use his gut instincts.
I'm going to put you back to 93, and
Yeah.
You're the manager of the Jays.
Yeah.
Are we watching John Olerud do a much slower running, jumping around the bases with a home run, or is it still Joe Carter?
Well, he might have lined one into the gap. But again, the loyalty card aside, and I don't want to downplay this. Did Cito get more out of Devo and out of Joe Carter because of how he treated them, and the respect that he showed them by putting them in the 2 and the 4 spot? I don't know. But man, I would have liked to see like a 2-3-4 of Alomar, Molitor, and Olerud. Pick your order, get your righty righty combo going in there, whatever you want. It's hard for me to not have, obviously Ricky won, and then you take the 3 batting leaders and put
Right.
them 2, 3, 4.
But okay, I'll play devil's advocate for a second, because obviously it worked. So we're talking analytics and we're just comparing it to something that worked. If it didn't work, right, we'd probably have more people on our side. But did those 3 finish the top in the batting order because they were lower in the lineup, getting better pitches?
Yeah, maybe.
Pitchers were a little bit more tired. Maybe they got more. There wasn't as many rotational pitchers as there are today. We don't have as many. They didn't have as many specialty pitchers. But still, being further down in the lineup, you're not facing every pitcher's best stuff in that first inning, for example. Did that help? To your point, did a Devo and a Carter, who maybe based on analytics probably should have been the 6th, 7th, 8th batters, but did they overperform versus not saying they would have, but would they have pouted, right? If he went from the leadoff, now you bring in Ricky Henderson and you move Devon White to the 7th, 8th, 9th spot. Does he say, you know what, F this, and just doesn't get, you don't get all out of him that they ended up getting, right?
Yeah.
Those things you can't tell those things on analytics.
No, you can't. And that comes to a manager, having a pulse on the locker room and getting the most. And I agree with that is a real possibility that maybe Devo overperformed for Cito because he kept him in the 2 spot and didn't move him into the 9 spot, where so many of us today would be like, just move him down to 9, right? And it's like having your second leadoff guy. And so what did that mean? I don't know. What does it mean to Zach Greinke when Dusty leaves him in the game and doesn't pull him, even though he's showing signs that he should probably come out of the game? I think long term, that's always what I liked about Cito, was just that I always thought, and again, I wasn't in the locker room, but I always thought he had a much longer term vision than most of us as fans, who are sort of living and dying wins on a daily basis.
Right.
And I think, Devo in the 2-hole might speak to that.
Right. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Malcolm. Again, the article is called Touch 'em All Johnny O. Maybe we just rewrote history. You can find it on sportsfluent.com. And we'll talk to you real soon.
Thanks so much, Anthony.
Please hang up and try again.